Welcome to season 4 of Outstanding Women Leaders, Witty and Wise Conversations. I'm your host, Katie L. Leaves, founder and chief owl at Outstanding Women Leaders, Owl Professional Coaching and Podcast, an organization dedicated to empowering women leaders in relationships and life. Owl is on a mission to host 100 million witty and wise conversations that inspire you, disrupt the way leaders think, and stir your soul into action. That inspiration begins with a set of rules to guide our conversation. Rule number 1, nobody gets to be wrong. Rule number 2, nobody gets to be right. Rule number 3, everybody gets to be vulnerable. And rule number 4, my favorite, everything is included. Your child walks in, your phone rings, it's in the podcast. We do not edit here. This conversation is exactly what it needs to be in this moment in time. We've asked our guests to join us via video to allow us to create authentic connection. Eyes are the window to the soul. You will be seen here. You will be heard. There is space for you. When this conversation comes to a close, I will ask our guests 3 questions. If you've tuned in before, you know what they are. If you haven't, you don't want to miss them. But enough about me. Today, I'm excited to welcome outstanding women leader Angela Lewis, founder of ALA Public Relations, a boutique firm focused on amplifying the voices of service-based leaders who want to share their expertise and transform the lives of others. After publishing 4 books and managing all of the media outreach on her own, she recognized that many authors and leaders struggle to find the time to share their message. As a result, many people never had the level of impact they wanted. Angela and the team takes pride in being the connectors for leaders who value building authentic relationships through meaningful conversations. The team at ALA Public Relations is passionate about making sure each client is matched with media placements that align with their voice. Media training is also provided to help experts develop confidence, clarity, and composure during interviews. Angela is a former professional basketball player and championship-winning coach who brings a burning desire to win for her clients. The lessons from playing sports, such as teamwork, never giving up, and assisting others, is infused in the culture of ALA Public Relations. Angela has been recognized globally for her efforts, receiving the prestigious Robin Roberts Sports Communication Award, Urban League, St. Louis Young Leader in Youth and Education, and the U.S. Bank Women of Distinction Award. She is also a member of the International Women's Forum Women Athlete Business Network. Angela has a bachelor's and a master's degree in communication and currently lives in Colombia. Welcome.
Thank you, Katie. I'm so happy, so excited to chat with you.
So excited to meet the woman behind all the other women that I've gotten to feature on this podcast. Reading your introduction, all I can think is perhaps I need to hire this woman to help me when this book that I've been writing is finally going to finish.
We would love that.
Yes. I'm already thinking about who needs to write the foreword for it. So tell us a little bit about your books that you've written. If you are just tuning in, there's a bonus episode to hear all the really great stuff that Angela brings to the basketball court. Here, we're going to talk about my favorite thing, which is books.
Well, the books I wrote were all based on my experiences playing basketball. So the first book, The Game-Changing Assist, 6 Simple Ways to Choose Success, was written for middle school and high school girls. And in that book, I talk about 6 things that they can do and actions that they can take to achieve success. Having a vision for your future, listen to positive voices, understanding the values to reach that vision, overcoming the valley, reaching the point of victory, and volunteering. And so I tell all these stories, many embarrassing ones from my adolescence, around how I ultimately was able to go on and play, but the importance of giving back and having gratitude for those who help you get there. And so that book was the first one. And when anyone who's written a book, when you write your first one, there's so much like angst and anxiety around it coming out. But I'm so grateful for the impact this had on the young women who I've worked with. So much so recently, I got a text message from a young woman who I used to mentor, and she's now a mentor in an after-school program. And she texts me to purchase books that they're using for this after-school program. This is a decade ago. So this happened recently, and the book was published a decade ago. So those things that are valuable to us and we're passionate about, just get it out there, because you just don't know the long-term effects. And so I'm so grateful for having written that first one.
That's a really good pep talk for someone who's determined to finish their book this quarter. So thank you for that. You do never know what impact it's going to have. And what I loved about being a high school teacher is, I know that there's all kinds of impact that's still happening long after they've had me, even if it was, I never want to take that class again. They've learned, there's an impact there. So you write your first book and you have to promote it. This is every,
Yes.
Author's nightmare. I wrote a book. Now what? Who's going to buy it? How do they find out? What was your approach to being able to get people to even know your book existed?
My approach was I set a date for the book signing. So I had the first book signing at the Boys and Girls Club that I grew up playing basketball. So the location of the book signing was very personal for me, opposed to doing it like a bookstore or any other place that's, a community, like a place that's random kind of, or that's seemingly good. I did it at a place that was meaningful. And so the community around basketball in St. Louis, where I'm from, could rally around the location because it was kind of par for the course in terms of we know that that's where girls played. In addition, I tied in a philanthropic component. So we gave a percentage of the book sales to the girls. It was the 8th grade girls basketball team at the Boys and Girls Club, because that's really important to me to be able to support the next generation of female athletes. So that was a part of it. And then I wrote press releases, the more technical PR stuff that I did for myself. Press release, I reached out to everybody I knew in the media in my city. So there was press releases, newspaper articles, podcast interviews, radio interviews. There were everyone in the basketball community that I knew I reached out to, and so tried to build a lot of support leading up to the event. And I made the book signing an event. So there was a group that performed. There's a young women's dance team, and they performed. Not connected to basketball, but I really wanted the event to encapsulate my passion for supporting young women, but then also share the message from the book.
I love the event idea and, of course, the philanthropic component. I've run a nonprofit out of the Boys and Girls Club, actually. It was where our office was, with a mentoring program, similar to a big brother, big sister. So what a great opportunity for you to express gratitude for those that allowed you to even have this book that you wrote. And I just love this radio interviews. How do I get on the radio? Tell us a little bit about how do you get people to open doors for you?
There's a few elements. You want to make sure that whatever you're discussing aligns with what they want to discuss. As you mentioned earlier, the women who we've connected with you, we're really intentional. You want to make sure that your mission, purpose, or conversation is what they are discussing. So if it's sports related or if it's a community-based event, or the radio interviews that I had, these particular shows were based on what's coming up in the St. Louis community. So they were open and receptive. It wasn't a show about news, right? Or, national news. So research to find out what's happening in terms of the shows that are being produced, and then follow up and keep following up with people, because sometimes people are busy or they may miss your message. So reaching out one time typically doesn't get it. You have to keep shooting your shot, right? Keep shooting your shot. And then oftentimes we'll only focus on this one particular show and this one particular person, but no one person is going to make or break your opportunities. You can't go in with that mindset. If I don't get on this particular show, then I don't have a chance. There are tons of shows, especially today with streaming. There are a lot of shows out there. So consider a deeper list of possible outlets for you to share your message.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit, you guys found my podcast and you send me guests. Tell us a little bit about how you decide, how you find people. How do you do some of this research and find out that you're aligned?
We have a few different steps. We have really thorough conversations with our clients to understand who they are, what's important to them. And what types of shows make the most sense for them to share their message, but also their training. So it's not about here's what I know as much as here are the ways in what I know can help others. And so we advise in that way. So it's really getting to know who we work with. And then how we find shows. We have a database that we search through. We read descriptions, we listen to past episodes, we read the bio of the host. We try to find you on LinkedIn, all the social media, so that we can get to know you a little bit. And then we send and ask, are you looking for new guests? And then if you say yes, then we'll say, well, here's someone that we think may be a good fit. And so we try to be respectful of every host who we encounter, because I understand how challenging it is to record and produce and manage all of the podcasts. So that's how we find people. We're really intentional and try to make sure it's in alignment.
Yeah, you talk a lot about alignment and making sure that you're in service to the people that you serve, which very much resonates with how I feel about the work that I do. What are some of the common mistakes that you see people making in interviews?
They never stop talking and allow there to be an actual conversation. The purpose from my perspective is to build relationship, connection, and then share meaningful tips that are going to help someone else's life. It's not about me talking about how great I am for 20 minutes and not giving the host a chance to say anything. That's a mistake. Another mistake that people make is that they don't value the connection and relationship with hosts. And imagine, a friend gives this example, and I think it's so poignant. Imagine someone invites you to their party, and you show up at their house, they open the door for you, and you completely walk past them and disregard that you're in their house, and you just walk around and you want to get to the audience or talk to everyone else. Well, I don't believe in that. So I think a mistake that people make is they focus on who's listening and not the person who's literally listening in the moment that they're talking to. So those are two big ones.
Yeah.
Talking without breaking about yourself, and then you considering the host as a means to an end, opposed to the most important relationship that you have in this moment.
Yeah, I appreciate that about the host. This is probably why I really like the guests that you send me. Is I'm always so impressed by people that are experts in their field. Their time is valuable. They're a big deal in the world, and they are always so gracious. And then I'll have guests who are starting their business and they're ready to go out in the world. And what I often find that they're hearing is, you got to know your worth. You got to da 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 da. And those are really important. But Angela, you didn't get to play in the NCAA because you knew your worth at 12.
Not at all.
And you don't get to land, win championships because you knew your worth when you were playing in college. Like your worth is what is the relationships that you build and what you bring and how you share that. And so I do find that there is this happy medium that we need to have of understanding that when we step into a show, that the person that is a human on the other end that has offered up their energy, while you may not think energy is as valuable as your energy. And that's where I always get a little spicy. I'm like, that woman thinks that her energy is more valuable than mine. Where really it's an exchange. The value is that we're here together in this place and time right now.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So grateful.
Yeah, great interview tips. What's the best way to build authentic relationships in business, knowing that we don't want to just treat people as a means to an end?
The way to build authentic relationships, the first is find commonalities. Katie, before this interview, I researched and I saw that you're an NCAA athlete. I was like, yes, we are going to talk sports. I cannot wait. That's like, that was one of the first things I said on our previous calls. Like, can we talk about sport? And you're like, yeah, of course. And that took us down this basketball and tennis and March Madness and your birthday and your dad, so find a commonality. Sport is an easy one for those who play, but maybe it's music, maybe it's dance, maybe it's reading, maybe it's books, whatever that is. So before interviews, we give our clients the interview prep documents, and we're like, go to their website, here's some information, but maybe you're from the same city. So find commonalities, number one. The second thing is ask how you can help. The goal is service. Relationships are best when people know that you genuinely care and you want to help them. And maybe you can't, maybe there's nothing today, but then you follow up and say, hey, is there any other way that I can support you? For us, it's subscribing, following, commenting, all of that is meaningful. And then the third thing is being open and sharing what you need as well. None of us have it all figured out. We all need help. So being willing to ask for help, knowing that your intention is always to reciprocate when and if you can.
I want to ask you for how we can help support you. So, I'm like ready to transition into that. And so let's just throw it in there. Where can people follow you and find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Angela Lewis _PR. You can go to my podcast interview.com. That's my podcast interview.com. And you can download a setup tips on how to have great conversations. It gives more information about us. And we have an Instagram page. It's ALA Public Relations on Instagram. So those three places, my personal Instagram, our team Instagram, are my podcast interview.com.
And tell us about your team. You've got quite the force, and a lot of women that tune in are entrepreneurs. They are authors. Tell us about how you build a high-performing team. You've built high-performing teams that win championships in the court. How are we doing that in life?
Our team is amazing. I'm so grateful. There's Marielle, who was my first teammate, and I needed help, and Marielle was willing to do anything. Any way, whether it was researching, reaching out to hosts, scheduling interviews. And so Marielle has been with us the longest. And there's Andrea and Liliana. They're all our account managers. And so we have a team of people who work directly with our clients. Those three, Andrea, Liliana, and Marielle. And what I love about our team is I may say, okay, guys, I have this great idea. And then they come with all the questions. So how are we going to do it? What's the execution? And so we've become better because I've had to learn as a leader that you have to listen. And there are things that our team can do that I honestly am not even capable of. I mean, they can do some things with some Excel spreadsheets that I didn't even know existed, but it helps us be more efficient and track better the work that we're doing. So we have every podcast we've ever pitched, we have everything tracked, but that's because our team, I'm more of a macro level thinking about the vision, and I have ideas, and then they're great at figuring out how do we execute upon those. So that's our account management team. And then we have a content team with Adrian, Myra, and Marion. And our content team are the ones who are putting out our content. They're editing video. They're creating really creative pieces that you'll see on our Instagram. And they create things that I could never imagine creating. So to answer your question, how do we build high performing teams and how do we build a team, is knowing your strengths and who you are, what you're good at, and then having the humility to say, okay, we need help. I need help in these areas in order for us to serve who we're serving. And that's the most important foundation. Is if we're going to really be good for our clients, then here are my limitations. And these are the other pieces that we need to ensure that they get what they need. So it moves beyond you. It's not about me at all.
Yes. So one thing that I talk to leaders a lot about in coaching is, what can you count on me for? And what can you not count on me for? And it's always exciting when I have a leader after a few weeks of coaching together that say, I guess I was the problem. There's something to be said for athletes where we are very in tune with where our sweet spot is. If I am standing in this part of the court with the ball, that is the shot I'm taking. I'm going to make it 80% of the time. You can count on me for that. If I'm over there in the court, you can count on me for not making that shot, but I'm a great passer. So you need to be right. I love the way that you're thinking about bringing out the best in yourself by allowing other people to shine where you don't. and being humble enough to just own that you don't have to be good at everything.
Yes, absolutely. It's not possible. It is really illogical to like put that pressure on yourself to be good at all of the things. And I'm grateful for all of the coaches that I have. I have friends who are mentor coaches, and then I have coaches that I pay to coach me so that I can see myself better so that we can be better. I'm
Yeah.
so coached up. Like,
I love that. I'm so coached up. It's the opposite of the guys in New York on a Friday night. They're coked up, you're coached up. I love
yes.
that. We'll start using that. I have that same board of advisors. So the great part about being a certified coach is that I have people that are really talented. One's an ex-NFL player, not for long. So they definitely
Right.
have other game plans. And he's fantastic at being able to help me see. Well, he's just a great listener, so that's why he's great at helping me see what I can't see. But being able to have your little board of directors, where we think in life we have those 5 group of friends that were really important. It's really important that you have those people as adults as well. And I think finding mentors and people to pour into you is a lost art. Companies don't invest in it or preach it to their people. The first thing I do when I go in to help support someone is ask them, well, what's your strategic career circle like? Who are the 3 to 4 mentors in your circle? Who are your peers that see you in action, that can give you real-time feedback? And it sounds like you have the best peers to give you action. As a leader, you're not sitting up here saying, okay, I won't learn from you. I've had a leader once that was like, well, I don't really need a mentor. They landed the VP title. Can you imagine, Michael Jordan
Wow.
or, saying, well, I don't really need Phil.
Mhm.
Other
Yeah.
advice that you have for women in business, women authors? I know that you also really support Black women. Tell us a little bit of advice for them. And
Yeah. Part of, I think one of the challenges that we often face is just the willingness to speak authentically about who we are, what we've been through, and where we're from. So having people that we can be completely open with gives us the courage to be that out with our clients or publicly, and knowing that you don't have to change who you are in order to be successful in the way that you define it. To get to where you want to be, you can be exactly who you are. And it's okay to not know. I know we talk about imposter syndrome a lot. But it's real. We second guess what we know. A friend recently asked me to keep track of all of the things that I've done that I'm proud of. Like, write it down and go back to it, because you're going to have moments of self-doubt, and that self-doubt is just normal. It's a part of it, but that doesn't mean that you stop. So my advice would be get a circle and keep it tight that you can be completely raw and authentic with. The second piece of advice would be live with the self-doubt, but don't let it stop you from taking action. And the third piece is always thinking about the impact that your presence has on others. So if getting up for yourself and doing it for yourself isn't enough, then who are the people watching who need to see you show up fully and authentically, and thinking about them, sometimes doing what we need to do because others are moving and are relying on us, gives us that energy on days where we feel like we can't do it for ourselves. So for me, it's nieces, nephews, it's little cousins. I don't have children, so it's like all of these young people who I say, okay, I can do this, and then that opens up a pathway for them. And if we do this, then that provides opportunity for them. It's our team. Like, okay, if we can be really good, then that opens up opportunities for them. So it's for the others who help keep me motivated on days when on those challenging days.
that's a really good reframe to think about, sharing your gifts so that you can pave the way for others to share theirs. Oftentimes when women don't feel comfortable stepping in and fully owning those gifts, But if you told me that to save that kid's life over there, I just needed to tell everyone, how great I am. Like, I would remember that.
Yes, yes,
That's a good
yes.
reframe. And, the NCAA thing that connected us, Ziz, my mentor I talked about, he's the one that's like, you don't have that listed anywhere. Why don't you have that?
Mhm.
Because I played at D2, I just sort of downplayed, like somehow that money wasn't as green as the money at the Division 1, because there was still money.
Exactly.
Someone said, here's cash, please play for us. But I had not had that up until maybe it's been a year now since that's even been in my bio, because I didn't think about that as being a major accomplishment. But if you had asked me at 25, I would have been like, it was all over my resume, because people love to hire college athletes.
Yes.
They know that we're coachable. They know that we can grow and that we have this growth mindset. So it's also my favorite tip for imposter syndrome. I have what I call a magic wand for it.
Mhm.
What makes you great what's great about you being an imposter? Buffalo, when there's a
That's good.
storm, buffalo run into the storm because on the other side, the sun is shining. So if you go into your imposter, imposters don't have experience bias.
Mhm.
Imposters have fresh ideas. They have questions that we wouldn't normally ask.
Yeah.
They also aren't going to be in the weeds. When you're an imposter, you're up here, being
true.
able to see things. Yeah. So for me, going into corporate coaching, I don't have any famous, I don't have Google and Apple on my resume. I felt very much like an imposter. And the best exercise I ever did for myself was deciding, there's a great parody song that was on in Living Color that Jim Carrey did on an imposter song. And it's so great because it reminds you of like the good things about going in, being the idiot in the room, being the imposter. I coach so many engineers. I'm never going to try to make them better engineers, but I am going to be able to make them a better leader. That area I'm not an imposter in.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. And I love the buffaloes running into the storm because of the other side.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome, it's like we're trying to outrun it, right? Where we're afraid of someone seeing it, so we're just going to run really fast. Run in, let people see how great it is.
Yes. And you as you're growing, you're always going to learn something new. So there's always going to be a time when you don't know, but that doesn't negate all that you know.
Yeah.
And we forget that sometimes.
Yeah. And humility is a big part of leadership. So, if you're willing to embrace that you don't know, you're in the storm and you're about to come out the other side, acceptance. I think that's the big part.
Yeah.
It's just accepting that you belong here because you have something to bring that's unique. And
Yes.
more so than all of the posters, the perfect posers, I think is what I call them in the blog post I wrote. Yeah. And I do have clients that tell me all the time. So the other people had all the expertise in the right boxes, but the reason that they end up choosing me is either something stands out, like NCAA athletes, since I've added that, people chose that. Or a lot of it is that they read the testimonials and they said, your testimonials just sounded like you really understood people. That's what people want from their coach. They want to be seen. They don't need your resume.
Yes. Yes.
So as we wrap up here, Angela, what is your superpower?
My superpower is hearing people and then connecting them to opportunities. We do that. I do that really, really well. Just listening. I listen well.
What's your purpose?
To provide access to opportunity. Yeah, I think it's in a loving way. Very so people I encounter, I'll say this, feel cared for and loved. You can it's that positive energy. So to give that positive energy, and that allows me to listen for what people need and then help them in that way.
And what's next for you?
What's next is continuing to get a little better, actually listening to my coaches. That's what's next, implementing everything that needs to be implemented.
You heard it here
Yeah,
first,
so
folks. Listen to your coaches.
yes. Listen, implement because it'll work. Yeah. So a list of things to do that will make the experience for our clients better.
Thank you for making this experience so wonderful for me. I so appreciate you joining us. I always like to give our guests the last word. So this is your chance.
The last word would be connect authentically, have open and honest conversations, and genuinely try to help others. And a lot of things will work out for you.